Hello everyone. Very good afternoon to all of you. Nice monsoon season. I hope you are joining from a different place. So this is Mitali Agrawal. I look after the business development and engagement at Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. Cybersecurity Center of Excellence is a joint initiative and establishment into cybersecurity by Government of Telangana and Data Security Council of India, which is an ESCOM initiative. And since we have our CEO here to welcome you all, so I over to Dr. Sriram to talk more about what CCOE does here. And then we will be then followed by the special session by our special guest, Mr. Venugopal. Over to you, Dr. Sriram.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session from none other than Venugopal Parameswara, the CISO of CSB Bank. We can't get anyone better, really, to talk about AI and banking. He is quite a stalwart himself and has many accomplishments to his name. And also, what we have is here is an extremely interesting uh, theme of topical interest right now, which is AI in banks. And banking is one of the most critical sectors in our country. And it's deemed as, in fact, a critical sector by NCIIPC, a National Critical Infrastructure Protection, Information Infrastructure Protection Corporation also. So, which means that anything that we do of such a major impact needs to be assessed very, very carefully. And also, that is the reason why he's talking about frameworks for AI to be put in banks so that we avoid all the downsides while we are able to leverage the upside very thoroughly in the AI. So that is what this whole session is about. And please feel free to interact and ask any number of questions. And really, people have a lot of questions on how AI is using, how AI is being used in banks. And there are so many aspects to it. So where do we start from? And how do we go about doing it? How do we preserve the privacy? How do we preserve the security? And then how does it offer maximum value? How do we maximize the value over time? So it's a powerful force that has been unleashed, and we can only hope to leverage more and more of it in the coming days as it gets into every sector. So there are so many aspects which are there. For example, machine learning, which it's very careful. We need to be very careful that the right kind of information it takes in and learns. Otherwise, the wrong kind of information will land the entire thing in trouble. Again, there are precision queries in the sense that if you query, how reliable is the answer? So that is very important. So it depends on how you model the entire AI there inside the framework. So that's very important. Otherwise, when people say, for example, they're using ChatGPT, yes, they can rely on the answer to an extent in order to produce a report or in order to glean some insights on a topic. But the real proof of the pudding is, can you rely on the answer to take that answer and go and invest millions of dollars? Or that means essentially it is used for high level decision making. So that is where we are headed towards. Okay, precision AI. All right. So with that, I'll stop here and hand over to Venugopal. Welcome to Venugopal to our session, and we hope as audience to make the best of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Sriram.
Dr. Thank you, Dr. Sriram. So in continuation to what Sir has said, so CCOE, just to tell you that why we are here, and then obviously and how I will proceed towards the introduction of our speaker, you will get to know that why we are here actually with him. So CCOE work with is a ecosystem enabler into cybersecurity and privacy. So we work with the entire ecosystem of cybersecurity and privacy industry. So right from the early stage company, so we have a full-blown incubation program. So far, we have supported 75 startups into cybersecurity and privacy. So we promote innovation and affordable solution into the industry. We work with support the medium scale industry into the domain, and also we work with the stalwart in the cybersecurity and privacy domain. We work with the both local, state government, as I have already shared with you, and also central government, and we have represented Telangana, the cybersecurity domain into the foreign land. We strongly work with the academia and R&D and all of us are here for learning, but we have a 60 plus MOU with different academic institutes in India and abroad to promote the capability building program. So those who are student, you can pass on the work. So our so-called awaited Great EPSEC Hackathon is coming up in the month of September. So last year we have seen the 10,000 plus registration across the globe from 20 countries, and we hope we will touch this mark and overshoot this benchmark. And IDSS will come in the month of October, which is a joint program with the Embassy of Netherlands in India. And those who just want to immediately start, so 29th onwards, we are starting a very unique program, which is a foundational crash course into the cybersecurity and privacy, named as Cyber Diksha. So that program is a 60-hour learning, 45 hours of theory and 15 hours of lab, which will be accompanied by a CP's point 60 point certificate from CCOE, followed by a NASCOM future skill assessment. So these are brief on the capability building program. We work with the user group as we are here with Mr. Venugopal and different user group companies like retail, banking, pharma. We work with them so that the this innovative solution and the talent which comes to the table. The talent which come on the table reach to the right taker, and at the end from the NASCOM as industry body, we hugely collaborate. So we have 11 plus international collaborations. So we work locally and with a global perspective. So this is short on the cybersecurity and what we can do. And the what you are here today is another flagship initiative of Cybersecurity Center of Excellence that is called PrivSec Spotlight. It is a monthly webinar CISO DPO web series where we bring in request experts from a respected domain who come on board and share their learnings about the tech and trend in the industry, so that those who are upcoming professional to the domain or those who are existing professional can hone their skill into the domain. And today we are privileged to welcome Mr. Venugopal for the July edition of PrivSec Spotlight. So with your permission, I will just briefly introduce you to the audience here. So Mr. Venugopal has over 29 years of experience in information security, cybersecurity, auditing, security governance, compliance program management, threat intelligence, business continuity, and disaster recovery. He is currently playing role of CISO CSB Bank, Navi Mumbai. He has managed and consulted numerous cybersecurity programs. He is specialized in cybersecurity risk management, cybersecurity strategy and governance, cybersecurity resilience and operational program, establishing secure enterprise security architecture framework. He has got numerous cybersecurity certification, which I cannot read here in a neck of time, and and keen to participate into the thought leadership program, and that the interest of him that we are privileged to host him today for this session. And I hope as Dr. Sriram said, you will benefit out of this. So over the platform to you, Mr. Vanugopal. Sir, the session is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mitaji, and thank you, Sriramji, for that great introduction and good insight on the artificial intelligence in the banking perspective. So my name is Venugopal. I'm very excited to be part of the PrivSec Spotlight today. Moving on, let me try to take up the session. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
No, sir, we cannot see your screen.
Okay, 1 second. So let me pull it again. Yeah. How about you now? How about?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see it now.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So I'm excited to be part of this discussion. And my name is Venugopal. I'm this, cybersecurity practitioner for nearly 30 plus years. And we are here to deep dive on the topic called artificial intelligence in the banks. While I'm trying to figure out, there is one challenge I have. My Just give me a moment. I'm actually trying to move my mouse. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So in a due
Right.
course, those who register and looking for the certificate post the session. So just to ensure that it goes to the all active participants. So there is a feedback form posted here. So please fill out a right name which you want on the certificate and give your correct ID so that we can email you the your respective certificate. Sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dali. So this is a small disclaimer. So whatever I'm going to talk about, artificial intelligence and the implementation practices is purely from my thoughts, my opinions, and not necessarily reflect those of my employer or any affiliated organizations. So with that context, I would like to continue. So what is that which we'll be covering in the topic? So before I even jump into the topic specifically, I would like to know, suppose each of you are, some management role in any of each of your organization, made banks in other institutes. Suppose artificial intelligence is a new employee who is onboarding into your bank and working on a very, very confidential and sensitive projects. And what are the screening checks you will do if they can be trusted? Right? Suppose you are an HR, or you wanted to ask HR, or you wanted to advise HR to do the screening for the candidate or the potential employer who wanted to join in your confidential projects. What are the possible checks you will make? Can you provide your input in the chats, or someone can even talk in case if this opportunity comes to you? You can put in the chat box as well. Tell uh, Is it possible for you to read out, Daljeet? Because if I change it, my screen is
Sure,
actually getting
sure,
like, yeah.
sure. I
If
will
there is
read
any,
out the queries for you. So what
yeah.
we can do, sir, maybe you can complete one particular section and then give us a hint that you have completed a section. We take the queries, or we
Okay,
can take the queries at the end. Just to also for the benefit of the audience because they are all registered audience. So almost 20 registrants we have, but we understand this is a working day, so many of you might be not able to take the advantage of real time. What to say learning at this moment you might be taking the advantage of recording, but all those who you have given your queries has been shared with the speaker, so he will be definitely cover all those topics. But in case we miss out, you can write back to us on our official ID, and you can immediately whenever you get it out, you can write on the chat box. Either we take those at the particular end of a session segment, or we will take at the end of the session for sure. Okay, sir. May you go
sure,
ahead, sir.
sure. Yeah. So I'll proceed. I presume people would have actually thought from the context standpoint, like in case someone actually going to join my confidential projects, and how will I screen them? What are the checks and balances I will apply before I onboard such candidates, right? Now we will again touch upon in an indirect way throughout the presentation. So that's just a sort of a thought process provoke. I just wanted to sort of initiate your thought process around the cybersecurity, artificial intelligence challenges. Now we will again go back to those areas because I have two key objectives from the sessions, right? One, to address what are the key concerns of AI for CISOs, right? Or from any of the banking sector professional. The second is, explore these unique dangers AI introduces. And finally, we will come out with a structured framework with a practical guidance on AI can be reverse it, from a risk. Because today we see artificial intelligence in banks as a risk, but how do we convert that particular risk into a reward, right? How do I leverage the potential capabilities of artificial intelligence and building trust and keeping our operations efficient, and also ensure that we get a better decision making processes in the journey, right? So that's something which I would like to cover. So we'll touch upon why it is important for banks, why banks should look it from a positive side than a negative thing. That's why it's big deal in banks. Then we'll talk about various unique risk which artificial intelligence can bring it on banks. And I'll also give you a suggestive framework where we can actually start our journey. We will also talk about some of the security policies, right? Because one of the first activity whenever a new initiative has been taken is to come out with a policy framework, setting the expectation, defining certain parameters in the organization. So we will go through one structure configurations of a AI security policy. What are the key aspects can be brought into that particular policy? We'll also do a sample threat modeling. We'll also talk about a bit on threat modeling asset, and we'll also do a sample threat modeling on an artificial intelligence product, which is prominent in banks. I have taken fraud risk management as a product. We will do the threat modeling of fraud risk management. We'll also cover upon the action plan. Suppose you have to start your journey of artificial intelligence cybersecurity in the banks. Now, how as a CISO, what are your priorities? How can I actually have an action plan done for a 30, 60, 90 days duration? So, that is something which we will touch upon. We'll also look at the key takeaways. I also have a lot of exhibits which talks about the practical aspects of, threat modeling, something which we already seen. Risk assessment is also something which I have actually covered. We'll also touch upon the tools which CISOs can leverage during the implementation or governance side of the products. So all these things is what we will be expected to see in the subsequent sessions, right? Subsequent slides. Now, coming to the first point, right? Why AI is a big deal in banks. Now, it is a big deal because first and foremost, you have a lot of opportunity for artificial intelligence to be, to enhance the operation or enhance the functionality of the bank itself. Point number one, for example, artificial intelligence in fraud risk management, right? So fraud monitoring or fraud risk management is one area where, the speed is on efficiency of decisions are very crucial, right? It watches every transactions, the artificial intelligence solution. Suppose I'm going for an artificial intelligence enabled fraud risk management application. It watches every card swiper and every transactions, just like, suppose you have a security guard who never sleeps or never blinks, right? And they are looking at every person who is walking in, what they carry, what is their intent, are they doing what they are supposed to do, and is there any kind of a malicious activity performed? This is something which we see in real life, in physical world, right? The same way, when it comes to artificial intelligence, we will be able to perform that kind of opportunity where the solution, the model will monitor every transactions, look for a pattern, right? They'll study the pattern, and if there is any anomaly, it can actually trigger any, some sort of alert, right? And proactive action can be taken. It can freeze transaction or flag transactions, right? And also prevent money loss. Today, in a non-AI world, it is still possible. There are fraud risk management, but how fast it can prevent a money loss is something a concern. We have the golden hour for reporting the fraudulent transactions, but with the artificial intelligence, we can improve upon that particular golden hour. Customers' trust can be achieved, and of course, the money can be saved. The business suddenly moves large sums. So, for example, there is the pattern. One of the pattern which we typically see is that suppose one of the corporate customer see a large transactions from multiple overseas partner, and rather than looking at as an individual transactions, it can correlate. Artificial intelligence have multiple data points, multiple complex algorithm to pick up these signals, and it can flag as an unusual routing. It can also warn the bank's compliance teams, and transfer can be posted, right? So that's the fraud risk management. Another example is like credit scoring, right? So credit scoring is one area where a lot of subjective decisions are taken. For example, let's say a right-side driver, right? Like Ola or Uber or anyone for that matter, right? Now, since they are, they don't have a big, transaction or kind of a credit history to be demonstrated, most of the banks might not give them what they want, right? For example, some liability product like a loan or something will be very difficult for them to achieve. So that's why they have been exploited by small, the other kind of areas of banking side. So how do we ensure that we will be able to do inclusive banking for them? AI can actually help you. For example, this rideshare driver who might not have a big balance or who don't have a credit card or credit history as such might be able to leverage his phone bills we will be able to leverage his various conversations on the phone, right? And how much time he actually takes on repayment of his loan to on his car if he had taken any loan. So various transactions can be looked at, and judgmental decisions can be taken by artificial intelligence rather than a conventional way of looking at your credit score and then take a decisions, right? So we can extend the credit card or credit scoring or liability products to those segment of customers as well. The other is on the efficiency. Of course, we have seen how these decisions can be taken on a light on the flash of a light, and then initiatives can be taken, right? So takes and AI decisions in banks are, I mean, as we see, it is different from conventional, products, but it directly hits the financial transactions, regulatory compliance, and also crucial for customer trust. So, but however, the key difference is that if you start, while it boosts the efficiency, but it creates new risks, right? The traditional IT security might not be enough for to mitigate those particular risks. So we will have to come out with a entirely new framework or aligning with the existing framework, an entirely new, terrain of risk mitigation or risk management to deal with the security issues through AI, right? So that's what we're going to see in the subsequent. Another important difference between artificial intelligence security and the traditional security. In traditional security, we try to protect the, let's say, from a banking standpoint, the money or the vault, right? But when it comes to protecting the artificial intelligence, we are trying to protect the brain itself, the brain which takes decisions, right? So that's the key difference between the conventional traditional security and the artificial intelligence. Okay, these are some of the artificial intelligence security risks which are very unique to the banks. So we will be citing certain examples from a banking sector. For example, uh, third-party risk. Now, not every bank will be, having the right resources or skills to develop an artificial intelligence model by ground up, right? They may have to acquire certain solutions. So one of the challenges when we are actually acquiring some solutions is to, the third party, how the third party is actually retaining that particular artificial intelligence solution, maintaining that artificial solutions, retaining its intellectual properties, if there are vulnerabilities in that product which are embedded into the solutions, which is how they can be, how some attacker can exploit it. We have seen the supply chain attack in the recent past. The same can be applied for supply chain, third party artificial intelligence which is used by the banks also, right? The other part is from a bias and ethics. So, in fact, I read somewhere a few months back that in Singapore or Malaysia or somewhere, that there was an artificial intelligence camera systems which was installed in a shop to detect, shoplifting and stealing and all. So it says that the artificial intelligence model was trained with the data of a younger generation because the sample which they have taken is for the younger generation. And when they started putting it in the shop and started observing the performance of that particular artificial intelligence tool, it observed that most of the time it picks up it already started monitoring the younger generations, phases, because in camera-based artificial intelligence systems, it was able to pick up if there is any kind of a malicious event or any kind of a sort of suspicious move by youngsters. It used to take up and do more rigorous checks for the younger generation. But however, their sample did not had a mid or older generation part of their tool development. So those guys were happily stealing it, or some were actually moving without any kind of a security check and all. But it was causing a lot of embarrassment to people. A lot of customers complained, and there is also bias and ethics because in this case the bias part, right? So just wanted to highlight how an artificial intelligence can be biased to a certain group or a certain data, inputs. That is what I would like to address here. So it's about algorithmic discriminations. So all biases and ethical aspects also will come into picture because of the impact of it. Certain decisions will be taken. So all are due to the algorithmic discriminations. Now the other part is in terms of explainability. Suppose we all face auditors. Suppose the regulator is coming to you and then say, okay, how did you detect this particular incident as a malicious incident into the SOC analyst? You will be able to say that, okay, this is the log I received it. This is the pattern I observed in the log, screen. And this triggered a use case. The use case was created and that use case triggered an alert. And then we did a triaging of that particular alert and incident. We found that is a true positive. That's how it is an incident, right? You will be able to explain it. But is it possible for you to explain if it comes from a third party? Because the third party might not have given you the workings of that particular product, right? So explainability is, something like that, right? The other is in terms of the drift over a period of time, because artificial intelligence is also a learning solution, just like humans, right? You learn over a period of time. 20 years back when I was in the organization, I might definitely not, aware of the cybersecurity, the nuances of cybersecurity, etc. Now you learn over a period of time, and I'll be biased or I'll be, sort of fine tuned to what I have actually learned from my environment, right? So drift is something like, like your Aadhaar photo. Maybe you would have taken the photo 4 or 5 years back and in a most candid moment of your life, right? You would have not really dressed up and then gone to an Aadhaar center and then did it, because most of the time Aadhaar initiative was a very uh, sudden initiative. If I remember 6 or 7 years back, or maybe more than that, maybe 15 years back, I believe. So at that point of time, you might not have a proper photo, right? It would have not been identified properly, or your younger photo. Another example is that suppose you have in your passport 10 years back photo, and a lot of changes would have happened to your environment and your body, your biology. So then your picture cannot be really identified with your original, photo. So for me, for example, whenever I sign it, 10 years back when I opened certain bank accounts, I would have signed in a particular way. But today, when I'm visiting and then withdrawing it from a physical mode, the bank will not accept it. By my signature would have changed drastically, right? So drift and surveillance is basically similar to the same. It's gradual decline of your artificial intelligence performance due to changes in data or behavior, right? So that's another unique risk which you come across. Then, of course, from a security operation emphasis, you need to have a proper monitoring and logging mechanism, because every event, every decision have to be logged in. The tool have to have the mechanism, and even the inner workings, especially when it comes to user inferences of his particular decisions. Inference are nothing but the decisioning part of the artificial intelligence based on the input and the learning and its skills. So the inferences part is like explainability comes into picture. That has to be logged, that has to be monitored. If there are drifts in the kind of decisions, that has to be properly identified and suitable actions need to be taken, right? So these are some of those unique challenges. We'll again continue with a few more. The other part is on the data poisoning, right? Now, data poisoning is all about you're giving some information and prompt you to do something which is absolutely reversible to your original, purpose. I mean, now it is, you would have heard from an epic story of Ramayana, the Manthara, right? Manthara is the old lady who goes to uh, Kaikeyi and talks about, the ill side of the character or asking her to do certain activities. Now, that's a classic example how data poisoning works. You feed the artificial intelligence model with the wrong data, and artificial intelligence will think that that is the normal behavior and try to behave it in a negative way, right? So it's planned false ideas and then develop the outcome accordingly. The other one is again on the model inversion attacks. Model inversion attacks are nothing but, you again give certain inputs, but extract certain privacy information or a personal information or some PCI or financial information from the uh, artificial intelligence models. The artificial intelligence model, as we have seen, it learns and it also captures quite a lot of data in its model while learning, right? Now, if you can extract certain data, so model inversion attacks are, you're actually trying to extract the personal information from the trained model itself. Like customer identities can be leaked out, or even credentials can be leaked out, some hard-coded informations can be leaked out and all, right? Uh, so that's model inversions. And, the other part is in terms of shadow AI. The shadow AI is basically a system which is as we've seen, the business, artificial intelligence is also comes as an, SaaS, software as a services. So many of the employees in your organizations can actually subscribe to one of those private artificial intelligence, which is not authorized by the organization, right? Now, we don't know that it's like a black box. We don't know how those artificial intelligence solutions work because the model has not been tested. We don't know its efficiency, and we don't know what data it actually consumes and retain it, because it might have an impact in terms of the data retention, privacy part, and it also have impact on the compliance and regulatory side. So these are some of those unique security risks in the banks. From a regulatory standpoint, I would like to cover four more aspects. One is called show your work problem, right? So providing fairness. So we have seen the example where when we acquire a solution, we will not have the explainability part. Like we don't know how that decision was taken. Now, because the artificial intelligence USP itself is to have very complex kind of input, complex models, and various dynamic parameters are considered, and a decision has been taken. Right now, if you don't have a mechanism to prove your fairness, that will be a regulatory issue. So you need to have an adequate mechanism. We will also see how these issues or risks can be mitigated while we are discussing about the framework. But this is one unique risk which we face from a regulatory standpoint when we adopt, or when we need to think. We need to think well, we are adopting artificial intelligence products. Then about privacy transparency dilemma, explaining the data use, right? Now, this means the banks must now prove their artificial intelligence is secretly biased or discriminatory when making decisions about certain products like loans, right? Credit cards or other financial products. And it is like you're asking in a restaurant owner, to explain the food inspector the complex ingredients or the minute mixes used in their signature dish, because it would have been performed by the master chef, the chef or the chief chef of your organization. So how do we actually explain that particular explain the in terms of explaining the data use back to the regulator is one of the concern. Next is third party black box. We have seen how third parties in the previous slide, we have explained it also, but it is like a black box. We don't know what that product will be. So that's another unique challenges. Regulators will expect you to explain the artificial intelligence model card, including the inferences, applications. So that will be another issue. And the living document nightmare is nothing but the drift part. Suppose, in the traditional kind of an IT infrastructure, we started documenting all changes. The first thing when any auditor comes into your organization, they will ask you, what is the fundamental change between the earlier system and today's system, right? So what was there earlier? What are the changes you applied on the system? So is there any change management process available? Is there a documentation available or not? Now, artificial intelligence is a solution which will learn by itself, right? It keeps on feeding with data. It is basically a crowdsourcing product, kind of a crowdsourcing product where multiple people will be keep on feeding the data, and it learns it and it takes decisions, right? It improves upon a period of time. There is no fixed point where they say, okay, I was doing X, now I can do X plus one, right? So X and X plus one will happen in a very dynamic mode, which you might not have a proper documentation to explain. So this is the living document nightmare is similar to that. So continuous monitoring and documentation challenges is another regulatory challenge which banks face. Now let's come to the core of the discussion. So I have prepared an artificial intelligence, a suggestive artificial intelligence framework based on 6 components. So it is because AI is as secure as its framework. If your framework or your structure, it's like framework, it's like a building structure. If the structure is not strong enough, then your building can collapse, right? So artificial intelligence framework is your structure of how you are going to protect, AI systems in future, right? So it's all the more important that we should apply the right set of controls in the artificial intelligence framework. I also try to link the AI framework with our existing management system framework like NIST. For example, NIST have those 6, governance principles. starting with protect, detect, respond, identity, and governance. So we can also map it with that, which means while the framework can the components can be entirely new, it can be aligned with your existing framework so that there will not be any kind of an operational inconvenience to the senior management or to the compliance team or to the auditors or to the regulators, right? So aligning is important. So we'll come back on each of these items. So from a governance and policy, that's the first component within the artificial intelligence framework. So there are three, areas where governance and policy will touch upon. One, in terms of establishing the framework responsibilities, in terms of ownership across the department. Who is the data scientist who will be, collecting that particular information from the business? What are the business use cases you have, and who will be the champion who will be identifying the specific use cases, working with the data science team or my technology team and operationalize it, right? And the other important point is the artificial intelligence policies and how often we need to review the AI model or AI framework on a periodic basis. And third is, of course, the risk management side of artificial intelligence, because you need to define the risk appetite, what will be the acceptable risk to the organization, what is not acceptable, when to raise the alarm, what is the threshold. All these aspects need to be looked into, right? So from a responsibility standpoint, we need to clearly define who approves any kind of an AI usage, who monitors the AI users, who retrains the AI models across the functions, and who owns the use cases. So it has to be very clear while we are defining this particular or while we are developing this particular policy. So establishing a robust policies and regular mechanism is also very crucial. And at the same time, we also need to look from a compliance angle. Are we having a proper validation mechanism to against explainability, biases, ethics, fairness, right? So all those aspects need to be looked into. And when defining the risk appetite for various use cases, you need to balance the innovation and at the same time with the caution also, right? And development aligns with the business objective and ethical standard also, because your business talks something else, but your artificial intelligence strategy is something else, it will not really work well, right? So it has to be aligned with your business objective and identify those core initiatives taken by the business. Look at the opportunity for artificial intelligence to explore or enhance the functionality and then implement them. Moving on, from a responsibility standpoint, this is just a sample sections. The business teams typically will be the person responsible for use cases. They will be the owner, and they will be also responsible for the outcomes, because end of the day, that's their business function. Suppose a credit approving function is using artificial intelligence. They have to own the specific use cases, the inputs. They have to allow, I mean, they have to sign off the model which is used and the inference technique which has been used and the outcome. And they should also have a proper documentation in terms of explainability to the regulators. Right? And typically, IT or a data science will be help, will be responsible from developing the source code, developing the solution software, model development. They will also may be responsible from functional monitoring standpoint. And risk and compliance, CISO functions and everything would be, everyone else will be responsible from the governance standpoint. And they will also do periodic reviews and audits. So I have put a small structure of artificial intelligence governance and policy. So as all policies, artificial intelligence security policy also should have a clear-cut purpose, scope, definition, and a responsibility. So the responsibility we have seen, scope need to be defined because it can be an issue-specific AI policy or entity-specific AI policies. Some organizations wanted to have AI only for a specific department or a specific function, right? So you can even have a very specific policy for that particular activities. You can, because another aspect is in terms of having an inventory of AI use cases and AI systems, because we have heard this term, right? You cannot manage what you cannot see, or you cannot, when it is not visible to you. So What is more important from an AI journey to start with is to take an inventory of all your AI systems and AI use cases, which is getting executed through those particular systems. And it is also important to categorize the AI systems based on the criticality, because that will help you to define the right level of protection which you need to apply to that particular AI system. So categorization will help you and can be further modified based on the risk assessment and threat modeling and all. But however, that will help you to say that, okay, this is a high critical. So for example, in a bank, fraudulent detection, credit scoring, or something which will affect multitude of customers or in a broad sense of customers would be high in high or critical classification. The other is in terms of customer service, they can be a moderate. And something from a data enrichment standpoint or some sort of internal utility like chat GPT or those sort of systems can be a data enrichment kind of a classifications, unless you use it for business transactions, of course. So that's the kind of a classification that we can apply on. Then point 3 talks about the secure software development practices. You need to cover the secure coding practices for the machine language pipeline also, because that's where you will be coding, and then you need to have a proper secure software development lifecycle practices. Then we need to talk about the requirements from a bias and fairness validation requirements, right? And the testing requirements. You also need to cover the access control to the code and the versioning. Then you need to talk about the product, the product, how the data which is getting protected and be consumed and trained by the AI model. So that's all about the data protection, and at the same time ensuring privacy, masking, redaction, those techniques, which anyway conventional, technology also we are using the same, but we also need to be cautious and mindful for the data which is getting fed into the artificial intelligence systems, and ensure that if the data does not require the AI model to see, for example, if a PAN number or Aadhaar number need not have to see, but just to say that, okay, this is the a PAN number of a customer with that data, X data, I will do Y functionality. I don't need to give the actual PAN number or actual Aadhaar number. I can tokenize it. I can give a mask data. I can give the last three digit, 4 digit, or whatever, right? Those sort of, as masking and redaction we can do. Similarly, especially customer information is getting fed. Of course, there should be a mechanism for you to ask for a customer consent, and that consent have to be retained, right, as per the DPDP and other privacy regulations. And it is also important for you to understand the usage of fake data. When, where, and how to use the fake data is also crucial, because the fake data, while it preserves privacy, you also need to trace back, right? Suppose there is a tokenization done, the algorithm by which we have produced the tokenized value have to be, clear, and it has to be documented. The other aspect is in terms of the data lineage. Data lineage is all about knowing the history of the data. It is like your the black box in a flight or flight recorder in the airline, because it gives you the entire history of that particular trajectory of the flight. So where the data come from, what transformation it had gone through, who touched it and when it was touched upon, who did the modifications, and how it is used in the AI model. While the data may be there, it would have been given by certain X and Y person for X and Y reason, or but how it is used by the model, right? And what changes it was made into that particular data. All these have to be documented. That is something called as data lineage, right? This has to be tracked, and retention policies need to be defined. That should be part of our security policy. The other is in terms of third party. And if the AI uses any of the cloud solutions, then cloud related control also need to be looked into. Because from a regulator standpoint, third parties are the extended arm of the regulated entities, right? For the compliance standpoint, third parties are the extended arm. So regulated entity is still accountable for the compliance of artificial intelligence and the usage of artificial intelligence, even if the product has been provided by a third party OEM. So we have seen the security of AI from an OEM in the earlier example. So what is more important is having a third party service agreements and clauses, and it should clearly insist of obtaining the model card. remember we're talking about explainability, biases, and ethics, because these products might have those, vulnerabilities or risks. So we need to ensure that there is a transparent communication to you, and it has to be legally, binding. So it has to be a part of the agreement with the OEM. So you need to insist for a model card part of the engagement, and also the decision logic which has been used in the AI. So security in cloud is typically the how the data is stored, how the data will be retained, data in transit, data in at rest. Data localization is another aspects, and typical cloud related security control also need to be looked into. So auditability, etc. You can also define and document the audit and logging requirements, the training requirements, and exception management. We have seen like in how the logs can be generated. Is there a mechanism to generate log if there is a model changes, right? How the predictions are being made by the artificial intelligence. When the predictions are made, is there any log which is getting captured? Is the log tamper proof? Is it searchable? It can be integrated with the commercially off the shelf SIM products or open source SIM products. A specific AI specific use cases can be defined or not. All these will come under this audit and logging section. And we also need to have a periodic training, because artificial intelligence usage is also a very responsible action, and employees need to be trained how they can actually use it. The development team need to be trained on the secure development life cycles, and the unique risks need to be mitigated. The compliance aspects need to be looked into, and also periodic testing. Right, you can do the red teaming and blue teaming with in a simulated manner, just like other traditional system testing. You can do prompt injection, you can do bias test, you can do validation test, you can do fairness test, or you can even extract the data using data poisoning, right? Injection test can be done. So all these red teaming and blue teaming tests can be done to test the capability or efficiency of the solutions. Uh, of course, the policy also should touch upon the periodicity of this policy. At what stage the policy will be updated, policy required to be modified, policy exceptions framework also need to be documented. There should be an exception matrix that has to be captured. So that's all about governance and policy. So is there any questions for me at this point?
No, sir. I guess someone got unmuted. I'm just checking that, sir. You can continue,
Sure,
sir.
sure. So secure development is something which we touched upon in the policy side also. So one of the key activity when it comes to secure development is about conducting an AI threat modeling, right? It is a very crucial step in secure development, especially tailored for the machine learning projects. So we need to conduct the AI threat modeling to identify any potential vulnerabilities earlier in the development process itself. And the practices ensure that your pipelines are secured and robust against any kind of attacks and errors. Similarly, the training data and the algorithm, right? It also have to be ensured for integrity and confidentiality. Suppose, I mean, we have seen privacy data in the data itself, in the training data itself. So how to do the redaction and all those stuff. So all these aspects need to be looked into while developing the artificial intelligence solutions. So many banks do develop their proprietary model, but use the front end with a non-prominent AI solutions. You will have a custom model developed, but the traditional chat GPT or Gemini or those kind of solutions will be integrated with that model and then consumed. You can also have, I mean, as a academic interest, you can also do local models. There are models available which you don't have to publish to internet and consume from internet. You can run it on your local systems and then test it out. You have models which is already trained models or pre-trained models are available for each of these areas. You will also get the documentation along with those those models, like what this model is all about, how is the decisions are taken, inference documentation, model cards. You'll find all those open source components, and you can test it in your lab. So this is one, sample stride-based threat modeling. So some of you who are aware of stride, it's about spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privileges. Right now, the common security risks are being captured. This spoofing is all about changing the identity, right? If it is a interface, a user interface, of course, and there is a credential which is being used, the typical spoofing attack will be there, then the relevant control have to be applied. But many times spoofing also will apply for the APIs, because an interface to the particular AI model will be through APIs. So how to control the API, how to secure the API will be a aspect, few areas which you need to touch upon. So it involves sending fake but plausible requests to the prediction API. You can also mitigate it through strong API authentication and also rate limiting, right? And tampering refers to the unauthorized changes to the artificial intelligence code. Models can be, how to prevent models to get tampered, the data to be tampered, and you can apply version control, code signing, and access control to ensure that people don't tamper your code or model or data, right? The other part is in terms of the repudiation side. Repudiation is when there is no trace of who altered the AI changes, right? So maintaining a proper audit trail will help you to see who had made those modifications. Information disclosure is all about theft of sensitive training data, which can be prevented by some cryptographic models, and filtering the output, right? Because most of the time, if you have seen in traditional environment, the error messages will contain a lot of information. So if there is some sort of error, it should not give an indicator for the attacker that, okay, there is a possibility of this particular vulnerability get exploited. So information disclosure is a crucial from AI standpoint. Denial of service attack. So as you know, denial of service attack is about, flooding the AI system with a lot of requests. AI system will think that all are genuine requests and then try to process those things. And also a lot of junk data, right? Huge files. And it'll eventually degrade the performance. So it need to have, again, the same conventional model checks like input validations, throttling, corrections. All those techniques can be done. And finally, the elevation of privileges, basically unauthorized users gaining additional control, right? And with additional permissions, they can go into the model, change the codes or change the configurations. Certain parameters can be changed, the logic can be changed, input data can be, altered. So it need to have a proper role-based access control. You need to have proper multi-factor authentication techniques to ensure that people cannot elevate their privileges to the next level so that they can misuse the system. So that's the concept about artificial intelligence threat modeling. This is one sample threat modeling which is done on the FRM system. Just a snippet need not have to be a comprehensive around. Just wanted to highlight the application of those concepts of stride into the various aspects, various functionality of AI tool. So transaction API is one of the key API which will actually perform the authentication. It'll also have a lot of validation performed, right, to ensure that the transaction is adequate or is a success, failure, those status updates are done. So ensure that tampering is one major threat. Similarly, spoofing is another threat to transaction API. So typically that will be mitigated using JWT authentication, TLS encryptions, and data masking. So we will identify the component, we'll identify the threat type, we'll also clarify what that particular threat is all about and how it can be applied to that particular environment. That's what the description we should cover. And the mitigation is how we can actually mitigate it. So these are the four core areas, at least the minimum areas which need to be captured in your threat modeling. And with that, you can actually go through the design of the solutions and pick up each of those functionalities and apply its right principles. So that's what the practice is all about. The other is on the AI model engine, right? Again, that also can have the tampering risk, reputation risk, or denial of service risk, right? And of course, the control have to be encryption. There should be a mechanism by which the logs cannot be tampered. Any anomaly in the system had to be detected periodically. Training data is also one vulnerable to tampering and data leaks. So dashboard management, like elevation of privilege, is also possible. People who are supposed not to see certain, reports can able to see those reports, right, by elevating the privileges. So those vulnerabilities need to be mitigated. So this is a comprehensive approach. So to ensure that each components of security posture is strengthened against various threats, maintaining the integrity and confidentiality of FRM system. So this is one, a model threat modeling sheet, which we have just thought I'll provide here. The third phase in the AI framework is about data management. Right? Now, this slide focuses the critical aspects of them to data management to ensure how the data is being handled securely. It highlights the importance of sanitizing the training data. So how do you sanitize the training data and to eliminate any kind of biases and any malicious content, right, from the training data, which is essential for building a more reliable AI model, right? So similarly, the data lineage and integrity and consent management is also need to be looked into when we are coming into the data management side of the framework. So you need to have strong access control. You need to have data masking techniques applied. You also need to ensure that you provide the data, from a clean, legal, and private data to comply with the regulations, right? And also we should respect the privacy information. So ensure that those privacy informations are specifically called out and then masked, right? Consent management is another area which need to be looked into. This is some of the phases, activities done at the data management phase. The risk management is again another crucial area. So the risk management is primarily on the model. The key, the heart, or I would say the core part of a artificial intelligence solution is this AI model, right? So model risk management is a very critical aspects while maintaining, an ethical and reliable systems. So one is testing and validating the models to perform as they are expecting. For example, you need to, I mean, as we discussed in the previous policy discussions, you need to perform various tests to ensure that the outcomes are correct. Explainability techniques need to be implemented, um, and model decisions should be transparent because it has to be very clear that why that decision was taken. Model card had to be there. It is to be understandable to the regulators or even common man, or from a business standpoint, from a user standpoint, it has to be clear. And it is essential from a compliance standpoint. Fairness check, emphasis on the detection and the bias mitigations, unfair outcomes. So model drift is also crucial because identifying when a model's performance degrades over a time, it also changes the data patterns, right? So logging the model, we have seen the decisions need to be logged, the changes need to be logged. So this is the framework for model risk assessment. Again, identify the AI model itself is crucial. Suppose one application might have multiple models, like ChatGPT, you have 3 or 4 different models available, right, for each of the purpose. One for the image, one for certain functionalities, right? Audio, video, or research on specific topics, extracts. So you need to identify the models, map it with the systems, make it part of the inventory is one activity you need to do. Then you need to identify the risk factors. You need to ensure that the risk identification is being performed. And you also need to measure the risk, just like conventional risk assessment practice. You need to perform the risk evaluations, and you need to have proper risk treatment plan to mitigate those particular risks. So looking at it from a conventional risk standpoint, again, what is more important is not the text as such. You can apply those particular component in whichever area you wanted to apply to. But what is more important is what are the factors we are considering. We can identify the risk category so that you will be able to get which area of security risks are need to be looked into, or the functionality need to be looked into. You can mention the impact because of the use case, because that AI system itself is been categorized earlier. If the critical category AI model will carry obviously the high impact, right? So similarly, how often that particular risk can mitigate, the risk can actually occur is the likelihood, and you can come out with your risk score. You also you need to identify the risk treatment plan, which is nothing but the mitigation plan, and each mitigation plan should have a clear owner, and how often you will be reviewing this particular thing, because some of those critical applications need to be frequently reviewed. Less critical can be reviewed slightly late, but however critical applications need to have periodic risk assessment techniques. Residual risk, whatever the value, you can define it and address it, and then control effectiveness. How effective is the control need to be assessed from a control strength standpoint, right? So that's the risk assessment sample. From a deployment sample, now you have developed the AI policy. You started protecting the training data. Now you have also performed the risk treatment or risk management, risk assessment of the AI model. Now we are coming up with the deployment, right? And you also done a proper coding practices. Now the fifth phase is basically the deployment, right? Implementation of the AI system. So how there are few of the areas which are crucial from a deployment standpoint. One is the API and the AI interfaces, the prompts, because those are the areas where an attacker can get inside the AI system and then exploit the vulnerability. So how to protect the APIs, how to protect the interfaces, in case if there are third-party API, how to ensure that it is sandbox. It need to be tested very thoroughly before it is actually started applying in the production environment, right? So sandboxing is basically doing in a secured POC test is also one of the aspects. And if there are kind of outcomes, if you wanted to limit the output based on the users, based on the targeted audiences, you need to apply those as well. You need to make those changes in the while deploying the solutions. We also need to have mechanism to detect any kind of a runtime attack. So sandboxing will also help you from isolating some of those codes. For example, you're actually running that particular code into a very secured environment, but you need to have some training data. So ensure that you have to develop the training data, or you need to sanitize the data from production and then use it, so that additional inference cannot be taken by the AI tool or transfer it to third party, right? So isolation and controlling external code and reducing the risk is crucial from a sandboxing standpoint. Limiting, again, as we discussed, it is about how the outcome would be, for because that outcome should be based on the roles and responsibilities. You need to see if that particular the right set of roles, which is part of their application, is applied to those set of users. Uh, and runtime attacks are solutions which will detect any solution drift, right, or decision biases, or any kind of an attack, technical attack which is on the code itself. So all those aspects need to be looked when we are deploying the solutions. The finally is monitoring and response. So monitoring and response is all about logging the telemetry. So enable AI specific logging. You need to define and detect any misuse of artificial intelligence systems and any unexpected behavior. You also need to train the AI team, the SOC team, from an AI specific incident response. Because AI specific incident response may require additional playbook, may not be a conventional way. You may have to align certain parameters which is fed into the artificial intelligence systems, etc. Right? So how effectively they will act, and appropriate mitigation measures are taken in terms of MTTR, MTTDs are crucial when it comes to monitoring and response of artificial intelligence systems. That's all about the framework. Now, there are commercially off-the-shelf solutions available to execute each of these framework or the functionalities. I'm just giving a sample tool names. I don't endorse any of these products. Most of the solutions are commercially off-the-shelf products. Can be open source as well, doing these functionalities. For example, governance and policy phase. There are governance tools, AI governance tools like OneTrust, IBM OpenPage, Colibra AI governance modules, extract that, which can actually help you to have a proper structure in terms of ownership, who do what, and also a policy can be, we can actually customize this particular functioning and define the security policies. So the governance module will look into the actual AI model and then figure out any kind of an anomaly or any kind of gap. And it also give you a lot of reporting capabilities. It can give you custom reports, privacy reports, DPDP or a GDPR kind of a report, or again certain best practices like NIST and all, right? So all these are possible. Similarly from data management, there are huge tools. It can actually trace the data in terms of the lineage side, right? From where the data has come, which customer, what product, the consent management is also another part, right? And how the metadata has been utilized. All these aspects can be looked into. From a development standpoint, there are SCA solutions, there are version management solutions, there are testing solutions from fairness and training during the pipeline, when you're actually coding the particular solutions. So how it is actually maintain those particular structure is those kind of solutions are also available. Similarly, model risk assessment, you can perform risk assessment using these tool solutions. You can also perform while deploying, you need to take care of certain aspects. Like for example, while deploying, one of the key aspects is in terms of vaulting the credentials, which are primarily from an integration standpoint, right? So we have an AI system which need to integrate with HRMS. We have an AI system which need to work with my FRM or a conventional FRM system or my transaction banking systems, right? Now, how do you manage the connectivities? There can be certain hard-coded credentials, or there can be, certificates based authentication, or whatever the mechanism by which your actually tokens may be used. So all these confidential documents can be vaulted. So there are vaults available who can explicitly can be integrated with such AI tools. And similarly, from a monitoring standpoint, solutions like Arise, Fiddler can do a lot of tracking on the drift side. It can detect anomalies. It can also do various tests, performance reviews and other things. Okay, so we have seen the risk in artificial intelligence, some specific unique risk in artificial intelligence to the banking sector. We also seen the framework how to mitigate those particular risks. We touched upon each of these phases. We also gone through a sample AI policies. We also seen AI threat modeling, right? We also seen a risk assessment from artificial intelligence standpoint, the key concepts of the risk assessment. And we also seen the commercially official products which are available in the market while for implementing the AI framework. Now we'll touch upon the action item. Now you have all those tools, framework, mechanisms, processes, policies around it available. Now how to start, right? So first and foremost, the low hanging fruit, like just next an action item, the 90-day plan provides a structured approach, right? How you'll be able to manage the risk. So first 30 days, you should be focused on identifying the AI system itself, right? You will be spending time in actually picking up the AI systems. Some are documented, some are known, some are unknown. What is more challenging is getting the unknowns, right? Of course, there are discovery solutions available in terms of data. If some integrations or you can do traffic monitoring, some systems are talking to some other system for some purposes, then you can get into that detail and then find that okay, this data is getting fetched by this particular tool, or the business is using this particular tool which is not being approved by the organization, etc. So the first 30 days can be spent on identifying the AI systems, assessing the risk level, and having some sort of a cross-functional team, right? And sensitizing the importance of implementing this AI framework. You can pick up people from the information security, technology team, data science team, legal experts can be brought in, so that what will be the impact of utilizing this particular model for doing this particular functionality? Does it satisfy the legal requirements or any compliance requirement? All these things can be done during the first 30 days, right? Then from 31 to 60 days, typically you can come out with the policy. You can document the policy better based on whatever you learned during that initial 1 month. You can address the security and model the risk. You can conduct the risk assessment, and you can also have employee training stand. And you can perform threat modeling if we are developing any solution at that point of time from leveraging the existing data. At that point of time, you also ensure that threat modeling is performed to pick up the most high risk artificial intelligence systems. So you can apply it on the high risk systems. And from 61 to 90 days is where you'll be doing, completing the entire framework implementation. So right. So a policy has been now available. It has already been communicated. Employees has been trained, and you started updating, more rigorous risk management functionality. You have a SOC, working, monitoring the AI functionalities. You'll also periodically test it with red team and blue team exercises, and you will also have a thorough documentations from a regulatory standpoint and various dashboard in terms of performance and utilization of artificial intelligence and how it is actually helping the business to grow faster and grow or improve their functions, right? So these are some of those, a simple 90-day activity which CISOs can take. This is another example in terms of an AI inventory. So we're talking about starting from a use case. Then it is important that we identify the owner for that particular business use case. You identify the various models which are used in the AI solutions. You need to identify the source from which it collects the data, because that's what you need to protect the data, right? And then in case if there are any third-party tool integrations are involved in for that particular use case, you need to list out. So I have the inventory of use cases. I have the inventory of the tool itself. It need not have to be third-party. It can be an in-house tool itself. So, but you need to list down all the tools mapped to that particular use case. Then you did a risk classification. So you need to categorize the risk so that the right set of permissions can be done. You also need to mark when it was actually been reviewed in, so that it will be part of your periodic inventory review exercises. I think one of the question which I believe some of you have asked or some of you are interested is that is there any international framework just like PCDSS and other standard in the artificial intelligence side? So there are few frameworks available, best practices available. For example, ISO 42001 is one such management system on artificial intelligence. Then you have the NIST AI risk management framework available. In US, you have the OECD AI principles there, and Europe, it's a very what you call very effective AU Act, AU AI Act, EU Artificial Intelligence Act in 2024. It's about regulatory with security controls. So quite a lot of requirements are captured in this particular framework also need to be aligned. Talking about they are also aligned with the GDPR and other privacy requirement from the region. So these are some of those security standards. So with that, I'm in the closing slide. So what we have learned is about there are, there obviously there is a huge opportunity. Why it is a big deal for banks. You have ample opportunity for implementing artificial intelligence in banks, but however, it has to be protected with the right set of framework. Right? Then you also can build security by itself, or you can even have controls around it, right? Or you can even use third party, ensuring that the third party security controls are applied. But only thing is that we need to ensure that adequate security controls are updated. So from an action plan standpoint, always better to start with a small. You pick up some area. You need not have to go in a full-blown way. You can pick up some crucial area. Maybe you can pick up risk management function, or transaction monitoring function, or internet banking, mobile banking, or liability business. Pick up anything which can be managed. Pick up small, clear steps, and have execute the 90 days plan based on the framework which we have actually understood. We also can define certain principles, right? Like this same principles can be applied. The same framework can be applied in other sectors as well. It need not have to be only for banks, but with certain use cases, maybe different use cases need to be applied for various other industries. So this can be applied across just a universal framework. While can be easily applied for banks, it can also be applied for other industries, right? So overall, by understanding and addressing these specialized areas, banks can have safer and competitive and earn greater trust, right? That's what the key aspects, right? From a security standpoint, customers' trust is the key deliverable from CISO. So how to institute customer trust and at the same time, if making your operations efficient, effective is another important objective from artificial intelligence. With that, I'm done with the session. In case if there is any questions, I can answer, or you can, in case if I'm not able to answer now, we can always, touch base in social media, or I can respond to you in email. Over to
Um,
you, Mithali.
Yeah, so thanks a lot. It's like a great many what to show on AI in banking, and a very detailed frame, like understanding of the topic you have shared, like right from someone who want to start the career to who are already there in this field. They will get greatly benefited from this. We also got a request, sir. Will it be feasible for you to share the copy of this presentation with us?
I can share this
A
presentation
PDF will
with
also
you.
work, sir. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure.
And as you have already shared, so those who wish to take more insight from Venu, sir, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. We have already shared his profile link in the email I sent to you. Uh, we wait for another 5 minutes in case anyone has any queries, because the way you have explained, sir, I guess maybe people may not have much doubt, because it is like people just dive into the great ocean kind of a thing of which you have shared with us. So it's more like a great understanding people got of the topic. Maybe there will be some question people, if they want to ask on how to make them conveniently implement in their organization or something like that. Or if any
Sure.
student would like to know that how they can start their career in this field. So the session is being recorded, so maybe some people would have missed being it is a Friday. I thought let me ask you some couple of standard questions which people have with respect to cybersecurity, and we are discussing the banking sector. So what is your take on is it feasible for the graduating student to get start with the career in banking with respect to cybersecurity?
Obviously, in fact, quite a lot of students I'm seeing for the last 10 years, maybe 7 to 10 years, a lot of students started exploring in the area of cybersecurity, because one advantage is that there are academic programs around cybersecurity, right? There are post graduation programs, there's graduation programs around technology and cybersecurity. So that enabled them to know about the concepts of cybersecurity. And with, of course, there are industry participation by these institutions. They'll also understand what is happening in the industry, etc. So it is a definitely an area where students should explore if they have an interest in cybersecurity.
Miss, how about the opportunities, sir,
So
in the sector, in the banking sector with respect to cybersecurity? Like, what are the way to get started? Miss, do the company do the direct hiring from the colleges, or they go with some specific kind of ideathon, hackathon, or what is the procedures?
yeah, so the first thing which the students should have it is that first of all they should have an interest to to get to know about you need to have thinking from an out of the box standpoint, and then start learning the concepts of cybersecurity. They can definitely participate in this hackathon and other events, conferences and hackathons. And of course, now the community is so huge that you can also get a lot of inputs from LinkedIn and other professional social media kind of avenues. Trainings are available. YouTube would be a great opportunity where you can actually learn certain, skills. Other, education platforms are also there. Of course, physical training institutes like yourself are there to, train the new gen. So avenues are huge. Uh, One area typically I've seen the earlier days, people used to the students used to participate a lot in this hackathon and other things. Now they're also looking from a management standpoint. People who have done the MBA and other programs also getting into a lot of governance aspects of it, the process actually. They do certification programs, CISA, CISM, from someone who wanted to do technology related cybersecurity courses. People were also getting into the offensive side of things, defenders, because early days I remember there was no SOC related training except certain OEMs used to provide. There is no conventional or traditional training program from all platforms, right? If it's an OEM, then of course you will be learning deeper into that technology, but you will not be able to manage the SOC, or you will not be able to execute or go to any other organization which is using a different platform. So those kind of training and certifications are very prominent. And candidates have been taken from colleges. We do that. In fact, one of my earlier organization where I used to work, I used to for more 90% of my SOC is only from college graduates. So they have been put into the training programs, 6 to 1 year of various job-based trainings. They'll be given with certain specific tasks, for example, looking at the log, or implementing certain agents, and looking at various MITRE attack and techniques, how to detect it, how to defend it. Those kind of small skills can be provided to them, and they can get into the mainstream.
So
So
thanks for
thank you very
your
much, Venugopal. Sia. I had a couple of questions here.
Yes, sir.
Banks are typically, many banks are a little leery of adopting AI for all the risks that you mentioned. Uh, Meaning that when many of the bankers, when you talk to, they say that they're typically a little slow in adoption of AI as compared to many other sectors which will take, because the risks of finance are high in finance industry. So that is one thing. But the people who are adopting, they have to deal with a couple of challenges, which is, one is the onslaught of technology. How do you keep upgrading yourself? How do you make all the things that you so wonderfully put in your slide deck, how do you make it future proof? Is one of the questions that's there, because
Yeah.
there are new developments every other day. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So one, sort of a thought from mine, sir, is that of course don't try to catch. I mean, of course, technology will be evolving, right? Had we decided that okay, we will only get the best in technology, we would have not implemented any kind of a transformation projects in the past. But what is more important is at least look at your business side, how aligned the technology which you are adopting and the capability which you are adopting from your business standpoint is more important. There you can definitely look at your future prospects in terms of business growth. For example, today I'm catering, catering to certain segment in the banking side, and tomorrow I'm planning to go for a wider segment. Maybe I'm going digital, or I'm doing digital lending, which I'm conventionally doing, brick and mortar lending, right? So look at your futuristic business plan and then adopt the technology, because technology, the capability will keep on happening, but how do you align it, and how do you get that visibility that okay, this is the focus the tool can actually deliver, but it can meet my current and future business operation. And of course it is a journey. There's no end. We cannot really wait for the best in class solutions to come into the market to implement it, but start small. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, yeah.
So you will not be
That's
distracted.
really a very good answer. So an associated answer is that if you take it further enough, far enough, then these digital banks and the rate pace at which uh, adoption of automation and AI is
True,
going,
sir.
is that
Right.
it may lead to severe job losses. Or the thing is that, for example, take a SOC. Is level one is automated, level two also may get, level three also may go. Okay, and so and so. So finally, you may have a SOC which is just a box sitting in the corner of the room, in the server room. Okay, so that's your whole
Very valid.
SOC. It's
Very
completely
valid.
intelligent and automated. Yeah.
Very valid point, sir. In fact,
So
that's another area which a lot of concerns around from a human resource standpoint. Uh, if you have done, I can put my thought around it, sir.
yes, yes. Tell me.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not obviously because as we seen in one of those slides, the earlier days, artificial intelligence was, to give you or the traditional way is to protect your safe. Now it is protecting the brain, right? And the brain was nothing but the humans who used to handle decisions, who used to take decisions, how much over the scale it is. It can be a SOC analyst to anyone in the middle to senior manager, right? Now, what is the penetration of artificial intelligence to take care of that decision, right? Is the key aspect. Of course, there are risks, there are threats, there are issues which will keep on happening, right? Suppose, I mean, the one example is about the adoption of shoplifting AI camera, which you have seen, right? Now, that decision, I mean, whatever it is, that decision was maybe earlier taken by a security guard who is there in that particular premises, has been replaced by this particular solution. But of course, there are areas of errors, improvements, and issues. Risks need to be looked into. So, how much what is the risk appetite which you can actually take is the crucial factor. That's where the defining the risk appetite, which all functions I can automate from an AI. That's the decision which a management or the from this is an answer from a corporate standpoint. A corporate can need to take how much we can actually decide where this particular functionality, which is crucial from a compliance standpoint or from my profit standpoint or a turnover standpoint can be deployed in AI is a question which each of the management need to take, and then the adoption can be taken. Of course, that will have an impact at the skill part also.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah. And we, as an industry body, NASSCOM, DSC, are also working towards this. That how do we find areas where there'll be a lot of traction, lot of jobs created, and how do we move the IT force or our talent pool there so that we leverage these emerging technologies and we are able to set up hubs which can serve the needs of not only just our ecosystem of India, local or national, but also the world's needs, right? So sitting here, we can create a lot of jobs, a lot of values, a lot of
Absolutely,
products. So
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So actually, we incubate about 75 cybersecurity startups, and a lot of them are doing good work. We deal with a lot of different entities, different sectors, and all these things. And certainly, banking is one huge area it's undergoing transformation, but it's also serve the needs of society much better because fintech is really gaining prominence. And so many different diverse aspects of fintech, so much innovation is happening there.
True, true.
Okay. Any more questions on the chatbot or anywhere else? Anyone else has?
No, sir. As I told, ki sir has taken a quite a high level of interviewing session actually. So we were just mesmerized that okay, there's much frameworks and such a solid foundations are being there in a banking sector is we are just aware of many of people are aware of just a traditional banking and so much of tech, especially cyber tech is being already there in place. So it was a quite a amusing session actually, and so I guess for many of us it was just a very great session to know about that all this kind of a work is possible in the banking sector, and maybe way forward from here, maybe in upcoming session we will get more queries once people have this foundational understanding. So with this, I guess we come to the end of session, and it is perfectly timed that to the end of clock that we took the time from the sir up to 5 p.m. Venu sir, thanks for your time, and it was indeed a pleasure and honor to host you today. And we hope that you also enjoyed to interact with us. And please stay connected with us, keep guiding us on all the amazing work which is happening in your sector and you're going through, so that we can share those understanding and knowledge with the ecosystem. And
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks a lot, sir. And thanks a lot to all the audience who has joined us today and stayed with us till the end. So those who have joined at a later stage, so on the chat box, there is a feedback form. So since the certificate is for your participation, so those who join it and fill the feedback form will be only getting the certificate. Those who just near the registration form will not be getting it. So please ensure you fill the form with your correct name and with your correct ID, so that we will be very glad to share your certificate of participation for all the time and energy you have given to us. And so that's all. end of the session for today, and we will be coming next month with another interesting topic with another amazing speaker. And once again, thanks to you, Venu sir, for being with us today. Thanks a lot, Dr. Shriram, for joining us, and all of you have a safe and secure cyber life ahead. Thank you. This is
Thank
Mitali
you very
Agrawal
much.
Sriramji.
sign off.
Thank you.
So I'm ending the session. Have a great day and great life ahead.
Thank you. Thank you all.